Hey guys, this is Luke again, and welcome back to yet another Ninjago video onto the channel today. Now, you guys obviously know that Garmadon is my favorite villain of all time. He is my favorite villain in the show, and it is for a lot of other fans. But did you know that there's actually three versions of him that exist? Lord, from pilots to season 2, Sensei, Sensei Garmadon from seasons 3 to 5. Yeah, even though he made an appearance in two, and then Emperor Garmadon from season 8 to now. Now, I'm gonna be talking about one of these versions and why I think this version is the worst version of Garmadon to exist. Now, this isn't necessarily a bad version of him, but it's a version that is overhyped, overrated, and just flat out not as interesting as the other two. So, with that message, who do you think I was referring to? Lord Garmadon? Sensei Garmadon? Or Emperor Garmadon? Hate to break it to you, but I was talking about Emperor Garmadon. Yeah, I think Emperor Garmadon is the worst out of the three, with Lord being my favorite and Sensei being second. But, and now a lot of fans are going to just be like, oh, you fucking hate Garmadon because you don't like his Emperor version. No, as I said before in many videos, overrated doesn't mean terrible. This version isn't terrible, but it's nothing like the other two. Why? Well, I'll tell you now. The first reason is the biggest one. The reason Emperor Garmadon exists. Now you may be thinking, are you referring to the Harumi ritual in? Or are you talking about the Lego Ninjago movie? Of course, I'm referring to the behind the scenes reason, which was to aid fans who have watched it from the movie and not watched the previous seasons. This I can understand, but the problem is you already have a way of doing that. You already have a way of easing newer viewers to the newer seasons, and that is the new designs for the ninja. That's really it. You don't really need to change anything else. To me, there was no reason in bringing Garmadon back. There was no reason to. Because, and also, in my opinion, Sons of Garmadon would have still worked without Garmadon. It would have still worked because they could just be devout followers of him. You don't have to necessarily bring him back in order to be good. It's just that because at least Lord Garmadon and Sensei Garmadon don't have behind the scenes reasons to exist, or at least as far as I know, I don't know the behind the scenes reason. Well, all three versions make storyline sense. Emperor Garmadon is the only one that does not make behind the scenes sense. Number two. Now, this one I know people might think of me as wrong, but this is what I think. His development just isn't as good. It just simply isn't as good as the other two. What I mean is, well, if you've ever taken English class, you would know that there's two types of conflict in literature: internal conflicts and external conflicts. With Emperor Garmadon, people say that there is an internal conflict, which there is. But the problem is, it isn't shown really well. It's only really shown in that one scene, that Daughter of Darkness scene, and in March of the Oni. So it really only has an internal conflict from season 9 onwards, which is fine. It's fine. But people also forget that he has an external conflict, and that is with his son. So he has technically both an internal and an external conflict, because a subset of external conflict is person versus person. Others would be like person versus society, person versus nature, etc., etc. So this development is also very slow. It's very slow. It doesn't progress that fast. Now I don't want it to progress like that. I want it at a medium pace where I can still remain interested, but yet it doesn't feel like his character is just stuck in one place. And I feel that's what's happening with Emperor Garmadon. His character is just stuck in one place, and it's moving too slowly for me. Well, Sensei Garmadon's character might have moved a little too fast, but it wasn't at the point where it was like, zoom, like that. Well, Lord Garmadon's character developed really nicely, and it was at pretty much the perfect place. I was still interested with Lord Garmadon, and I didn't feel like his character was moving too fast or too slow. Whereas Sensei, I felt like it was moving a bit too fast. With Emperor, as I said before, it's moving way too slow. I just feel like there should be something more significant in his character, other than I'm afraid, and I need to discover human feelings. I think there needs to be more to his character than just that. This one isn't another entry, but this is something interesting I found with all three versions of Garmadon. Actually, two things. All three versions of Garmadon have an internal and external conflict. As I said before, the internal conflict with Emperor Garmadon with himself is whether he wants to know human emotions or not. Then the external conflict is obviously with Lloyd. With Sensei, his internal conflict is whether he wanted to tell Lloyd about what happened between him, Wu, and Misako about who loved who with the letter. And the external conflict, or the main one, there's a lot of them is with Chen, because he's the one that royally fucked over his life, really. And with Lord, his internal conflict is him not wanting to fight his own son. And yet, at the same time, his son is one of the external conflicts, along with the ninja and Wu. So, yeah. Another interesting development I saw is that Lord Garmadon signifies both brain and brawn. He can kick ass, but he's also intelligent at the same time. Sensei Garmadon only really exemplifies the intelligent part of him, while Emperor Garmadon only shows the brawn in him. That's just something I figured out. And that hopefully, if you all think that way, you would think it's just as interesting. This reason isn't really Garmadon. Isn't really a Garmadon problem. It's more of a writing problem. Is that he seemingly just doesn't have a conclusion to his arc. As you might have saw, the last time we saw Garmadon, actually saw him, and not just through references, is when he just walks off in the season 10 finale endings. He just walks off to seemingly who knows where. The sad thing is, if he's written out of the show, then this would definitely make Emperor Garmadon the worst version, because he just doesn't have a conclusion to his arc. He never really finds out to what human emotions are, and is just left wandering wherever the wind takes him. So yeah, Garmadon needs to be brought back at least for one more season to conclude his arc. Otherwise, what's the point of bringing him back just to do that? Speaking of arcs, here's another reason. Emperor Garmadon ruined Garmadon's end, his Garmadon's death. It kind of ruined it for me, because Garmadon's death, it was absolutely necessary, because there can be seasons without Garmadon, obviously. Not every season has to contain him. But I will say that that if you want to bring Garmadon back into the show, don't ruin his arc. Don't ruin it. And I just feel like Emperor Garmadon just sort of ruined the ending to Garmadon back in Cursed World Part 2. Cursed World Part 2 gave a very touching end, as to he will forever love his son, despite that he knows that he is about to die. This just really spits in its face. It really ruins his redemption of Sensei Garmadon. And it just really makes me very angry that this version just really ruined it. Now, these are my reasons why I think Emperor Garmadon is the worst version of the three Garmadons. Now, as I said before, this version isn't terrible. I can tolerate this version, but it's nothing compared to Lord and Sensei Garmadon. It's an overrated version. Now, is it bad by any means? No. As I said, I can tolerate it all I want. It's just people are overhyping the shit out of it, and that's what gets on my nerves. Not the character itself, but the way people are reacting to the character. They think it's the best thing ever. That's more of a fan thing. And the same thing goes to Lame Rumi, or should I say Harumi. They just overreact and say that it's the best thing ever. So, really, that's really it. But anyway, if you guys like Emperor Garmadon, don't attack me, alright? But anyway, do you guys agree with what I said? Do you agree that Emperor Garmadon is the worst version of Garmadon? Or do you admit that he does have flaws? Let me know in the comments down below. But anyway, I hope you guys liked this video. Give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel by clicking on the red subscribe button, and click on the notification bell to see every video that I will upload. And I'll see you folks in the next video. Bye-bye!